All right, so I feel like I really need to make this video now that, I got my pick wrong. I picked BSD to beat Paddy Pimblett, but the truth is, guys, even after watching that fight, Paddy Pimblett is still not very good at MMA. Now, I'll give Paddy tons of credit. He did exactly what he's supposed to do to, an opponent like BSD. BSD went out there, he gave Paddy a finish, and Paddy took that finish, and he put him out in 50 seconds. So, clap it up for Paddy Pimblett for doing what he's supposed to do against BSD there. But you know, let's face it, this guy is building one of the worst resumes. Not only is he building one of the worst resumes, because I think that BSD really solidified himself as maybe a top 3 or top 5 dumbest fighter in UFC history yesterday. It was brutal, honestly, a brutal watch. They said that this guy had cracked the code to Paddy Pimblett's offense, that he was going to show the patterns in Paddy's game. And when in reality, I really think that, I don't think BSD trained for this fight. At least I don't think he watched any of Paddy Pimblett's fights before. I don't think he's ever seen Paddy Pimblett fight. He must have had no idea what Paddy Pimblett did in there. Because how are you going to shoot a takedown? BSD just did what he always does in a sense. I'm really, part of this is cope because I'm just like, I feel so dumb, you know? Like I picked a barbarian. I knew he was a barbarian, but I thought that he was a barbarian who was at least aware enough to keep the fight in a certain realm of MMA, because the truth is, if Paddy Pimblett wanted to, he wouldn't have been able to take BSD down. I don't think his takedowns are shit. It was really BSD was the one who was going to dictate where this fight would go, and if he wanted to, he could have just kept this fight on the feet and actually had a chance of winning. It was the exact same sequence as the Dan Hooker fight. He shot a terrible takedown with his head on the outside. He rolled to his back to try and spin out of it, but this time he's against Paddy Pimblett, who can finish the submission. He'll get that job done. And obviously you get submitted, bro. Like, obviously. Just the dumbest, literally the dumbest game plan ever. The dumbest approach to a fight. Like, if your coach told you to do that, bro, you need a new coach. And if his coach didn't tell him to do that, bro, I know his coach is pressed. Because you're literally shooting yourself in the foot by doing that, BSD. So I really think that's a real conversation, that BSD is one of the dumbest fighters ever. And, it's just his fight style to be a complete idiot. And that works against a certain level, Like, I'm sure Andreas Gustafsson, it was the same thing. Andreas Gustafsson really didn't have that many skills before he retired, but I'm sure he would have been able to beat some guys, because some guys just can't handle that pressure. But there are levels to being an idiot in MMA, and I think that BSD really showed his level. And, so I think he's honestly a bigger idiot than Michael Chandler at this point. And, Michael Chandler is the only other really good name on Paddy Pimblett's resume, if you think about it. Like, King Green is on a resurgence, but King Green, again, he showed the exact sequence, the exact flaw that BSD would need to avoid, which is that if you shoot a bad takedown on Paddy, you will get subbed right away. Because, Paddy was chopping up King Green's legs, and King Green had to pretty much dive into a takedown. Shout out King Green. Amazing win over Terrence McKinney, I call it. He has a really bad resume, guys, and he hasn't really beat anyone impressively, in my opinion. Like, sure, it was impressive what he did to BSD, but it's only so impressive knowing that BSD threw that fight, Like, he didn't throw that fight. He didn't actually intentionally throw that fight. I'm saying he threw it in terms of how terrible his game plan was. Like, he genuinely... He couldn't have had a worse approach to fighting Paddy Pimblett. They're saying he's going to be Armand. Bro, Armand was getting out of submissions from Charles Oliveira, who I understand Paddy Pimblett is definitely up there, but Charles Oliveira is a more proven jiu-jitsu specialist. And, he got out of those submissions. And, Paddy Pimblett, if he wants to just get held down on his back and smashed with elbows for 5 rounds, like, that's what'll happen with Armand. I see people really saying that, Armin's going to have the same issue as BSD. No, he won't. Armin won't shoot takedowns with his head fully available on the outside for Paddy Pimblett to get for him. He's a high-level grappler. He thinks with his head. He probably watched Paddy Pimblett fight before. Like, no, you're not telling me that he's going to beat him. I've seen people saying that, Paddy Pimblett could be an issue for Ilia Topuria. Other than the fact that Paddy Pimblett is huge, he doesn't have a threat. Like, he has a submission Hail Mary threat. It's really disappointing to see the MMA community so gullible. The narrative going into this fight was that BSD and Paddy, this was the fight between two of the biggest cavemen in the rankings, and that they probably weren't going to be that good. The second that Paddy Pimblett gets a highlight, he gets a quick finish. You know, the Joe Rogan is screaming. Everyone instantly seems to forget that, BSD really just gave him a win on a silver platter here, and Paddy Pimblett showed nothing. He showed no improvement. He showed literally no improvement in this fight. Because if Justin Gaethje went and did that same maneuver that BSD did, dude, he would have finished Justin Gaethje as well, obviously. Like, Paddy Pimblett showed zero progression in his skills. And I'm sure he is improving, but he hasn't shown it to us. We're not seeing it. So I'm not ready to say that this guy's going to become a champion because he finished probably one of the most finishable guys in the top 15. And I still picked VST, by the way. But I'm past that. I'm past that. It is what it is. I picked him. I honestly thought that BSD stood a chance on the feet if he used his clinch striking and he timed him on the exits. That's what I was banking on. He just didn't show any of that. So I can only be so mad about my bad prediction when the fight is almost like it was almost too dominant to be true. It was like, yeah, of course this happens. Of course this happens. Like, of course. Yeah, so I don't think Paddy Pimblett's that good. Like, people are saying that he really stands a chance against a rematch with Justin Gaethje. I think Gaethje would beat him worse if they were to fight again, because I think that Gaethje would show up in better form. Granted, he's only getting older, but I don't know. A fight with Arman, I think Arman would beat him up, and I think Ilya would knock him out cold. The only thing I would really worry about in these fights with these top contenders is his size. Other than that, his actual skills, he has nothing to be afraid of. He has nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of with Paddy Pimblett. On the feet, there's no threat from Paddy Pimblett. When you're actually on the ground, there's no threat with Paddy Pimblett. The threat with Paddy is just that little in-between phase. If you're shooting bad takedowns, you're going to get caught. Like, he did it to Jordan Levitt. He did it to Bobby Green. He's not that good. He's not. Anyways.